Well, hello everyone. Hope that you're all doing all right. Are the nerves coping okay? Have you got your tickets yet? Are you ready for the big game? Can the Stags get over the line? Are you prepared for all the drama? Lots of questions going around in our head ahead of that big playoff first leg semi-final with Northampton Town on Saturday night at One Call Stadium. Of course, we'll have our preview podcast for you later in the week. Tomorrow night, actually, as we're recording this. Thursday evening, 6 o'clock on our social media pages as always. But in the build-up to the big game, we thought we'd give you a little bit of extra special content for you. Now, cast your mind back 18 years ago, the 2003-2004 season. Keith Curle is the manager. The Stags have been relegated the previous season and we're absolutely flying. Liam Lawrence on the right, Wayno Cordinio down the left, Junior Mendes, Colin Larkin banging the goals in up front, Neil McKenzie scoring the odd screamer from the centre of the park, making him my hero, Kevin Pilkington in goal, and at the heart of the Stags' defence, Rhys Day. We'll come to him in just a second. The season comes to an end and the Stags, like in the here and now, are in the playoffs. They're taking on Northampton Town over two legs. The first away at Sixfields Stadium, the second back at Field Mill, and yet again there was drama involved. The Stags were 2-0 up after that first leg at Sixfields, courtesy of Rhys Day and I think Junior Mendes. And then in the second leg, the Stags, in typical Mansfield fashion, threw it all away. They went 3-0 down and had to rely on a goal from Tom Curtis to send the tie on aggregate to extra time. Penalties then, the Stags held their nerve. Mansfield scored all 5 of those and thanks to a save from Kevin Pilkington, had an opportunity to go through. Up stepped Colin Larkin to tuck home Mansfield's 5th and final penalty and to send the Stags to Cardiff to the Millennium Stadium for a playoff final against Huddersfield Town. Great memories, not so much of the final. Thanks very much to the linesman's offside flag, etc, etc, etc. Not even mentioning Liam Lawrence's penalty, which I think is still rising. Well, one man who was very much part of that squad, and he's very much part of Mansfield Town supporters' hearts, is Welsh centre-half, absolute legend, Rhys Day. And I caught up with him earlier this morning to talk all things playoffs against Northampton Town in what we're calling a new feature for the Mansfield Matters podcast, Stags, Stories, Snippets. Not quite a full episode, or nowhere near a full episode actually if we're being completely honest, but just enough to whet the appetite for what's to come in the future. Sit back and enjoy. Well, I'm delighted to be joined on the line this morning by a true Stags legend and one man who, the last time we played Northampton across two legs in the playoff semi-final, certainly had a hand to play. It's Mr. Rhys Day. Rhys, how are you, mate? It's great to speak to you after what seems like an absolute eternity since your testimonial at the One Call.
Yes, it's been a while. As I said earlier in the intro, but the dream was well and truly gone now from being a footballer and living that lifestyle, and now being a dad of 3 and working a proper 9 till 5, so to speak. Seems a long way away from the days of kicking the ball around at Field Mill.
Yeah, it certainly does, but I'm sure that those memories will still be clear in your head. And of course, this weekend, it's almost like a repeat of, can you believe, 18 years ago when we last played them in the playoffs?
Wow. That time flies, right?
It sure does. What can you remember about that season? Because it was really I think you'd had a short loan spell the season before, but then you joined us on a permanent transfer in the summer, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. So the season before, I ended up come on loan, and then we played away at Bristol City, I believe it was, and I broke my jaw in a game there, which wrote me off for the rest of the season. Unfortunately, we got relegated that year, as you'll all know, but then we had a real good go at it in was it League Two then, or was
it
was
League
Two.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a real good go that year with Curly at the helm, and we had a real good strong squad with the likes of Liam, Bobby, Adam Eaton, myself, young Baptiste was in there, Leroy Williamson, and then Junior up top with Christie. So yeah, it was a real strong team. Cords, obviously, with his chop, Tommy Curtis. I'm rolling back the names here. So yeah, we had a real good go at it, and it was an enjoyable season, that one, from from on the field antics as well as off the field.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of stories off the field as well. I'm going to go into the Northampton one in a couple of minutes, but I've got you on the phone, and I can't not ask you this because recently we've been doing a reunion series of the squad from 2 seasons before with Big Andy White. Had a few ex-players, absolute legend. But there's always a story which goes round about yourself from Liam Lawrence when he did his appearance on Under the Cosh when it was first started, about a hero of mine, Neil Mackenzie, 2 foot in your snake. Is that true?
It is true. True story. I believe it was a Christmas do, but don't quote me on that. But I believe it was a Christmas do. We all went out in Mansfield. Popped back to my house, which was a little bit of a party house at the time. So everyone back to mine for more drinks when the clubs shut. And I believe Macca was scared of snakes, and I had a snake at the time. Funnily enough, his name was Jake the snake. And I got him out of his cage, and Macca really, really pooed his pants, so to speak. So I was toying with him and winding Macca up a little bit. And then I think Macca kicked out, and it hit the snake out of my hands. And then threw Macca for me. He got up as if he was a horse, galloped over across the living room, and proceeded to 2 foot the snake. But as he fell, being fairly well oiled with alcohol, he landed on his wrist awkwardly and broke his wrist. Funny story that goes that Curly called us in. I think it was on the Monday. That was a Saturday night when we were back in training on the Monday. He said, "Tell me what happened on Saturday night, Rhys." And I said, "Why? What have you heard?" And he said, "Well, I've heard that Neil Mackenzie's been trying to slide tackle your snake and managed to break his hand." I thought honesty was the best policy, and I said, "Yeah, Gaffer, that's right, but it was a great tackle."
But that's probably he won't mind me saying this. It's probably the first decent tackle that he's been credited with.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get across. But I think Curly had a little smile on his face and thought, "Well, lads will be lads." And that was the type of team that we had at that time. They would work hard, but also play hard, and that helped with the team spirit. It helped with everything around the club. It was just a great place to be at that time.
Yeah, that's why I sort of bring it up, really, because I think any successful team, it all comes down to character within the dressing room, doesn't it?
Oh, we had that in abundance. We really did. It was a great. Well, I always say that I've been part of promotion-winning teams throughout my career. I was lucky enough to be involved in a few of them. And how that team didn't actually get promoted is really a travesty, because the team spirit and commitment that team had was the best I've been involved in.
Yeah, and it was certainly an enjoyable one to watch. I think for me it would have been the first proper full season that I'd watched. I'd been to a few games the 2 seasons before, but this one in particular really got me gripped. I vividly remember we played somebody, I can never remember who it was, we played somebody really long away on a Tuesday night, and I was always going to go and ended up skipping school at lunchtime and got chased down the full length of our village to the bus stop by the deputy head teacher, because I was just keen to go. I didn't want to miss games. Fastest I've ever run in my life. Never run any faster ever since. I don't do running, but some incredible times. And of course, that's what sort of brings me to this, because the Northampton game in this current season, it's brought back vivid memories. And of course, the first leg away at Sixfields, obviously it's different this time around. We're at home first, away second. But back then we were away first, and you got us off the mark.
Yes. Well, I can remember it was a set piece that we had worked on through the week. Liam's quality from set plays was great, and I scored quite a few goals, I think, that season from corners and free kicks. But yeah, we worked on it. It was a block, I think, that Diz actually blocked my man, which freed me up, and then Liam put it on the sixpence, and luckily enough, I've attacked it, and the timing was right, and 1-0. I think it made the goal. My goal was 1-0 up. Yeah,
put us 1-0 up. I think then Junior might have scored the second, and then second leg. Talk about a roller coaster ride from being 2-0 up in 90 minutes in the first leg to 3-2 down on aggregate, and then Tom Curtis pops up right at the death in the second leg.
He did. Great volley by Tom. I can remember that. Smashed it in and yes, took it into extra time. I think it was a bit of a dead rubber in extra time, though. No real chances. Just both teams kind of settling to take it to pens, I think.
Yeah, you didn't take one in the 5, but were you going to take one? Or did you put your hands up, or did you shied away from it?
Yeah, no. I was more than happy to take one. But I think that Curly had his takers, and he stuck with that. I don't know where he had me in the numbers, 5 or 6 maybe, 6 or 7 maybe, but yeah, I think he had his penalty takers, and that was that.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps he sort of foresaw what happened in your testimonial. Can you remember?
Yes, I can. Having said that, I did only have a 1.5 leg at that point, so I could get out of jail.
Yeah, that's very true. And to be fair, the ref did keep letting you take. I think we genuinely would have been there all night, though, if you'd have kept missing. Oh, dear. Great times, though, mate. Great times. And, of course, we get through on penalties on that night. And what can you remember about the atmosphere at Field Mill as was? Because, like this season, my memories of it is it was always bouncing.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was just a great place to be at the time. Not only at the training ground, but at Field Mill and around the town as well. We all used to go out for a beer in various boozes around Mansfield. And the atmosphere and the fans, everybody was on board, and we were all pulling in the same direction. And like I said, that just helped with the team spirit and the togetherness, and it was just a great place to be all round. I loved them. Well, that season, the years I had at Mansfield, I loved them all, but that season in particular was one that really stood out in my career, and it was a great time. Yeah,
it's just a shame that it ended in the way it did. What are your memories of the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff? Because for you, obviously, it's the national stadium for you, so that must have firstly filled you with immense pride to play on that ground.
Yeah, definitely. It was. We had a couple of buses, I believe, from the valley I'm from. There was a couple of bus loads, 52-seaters went down to support and watch. So first and foremost, that was really nice to have some real close family and friends down there watching. I'll be honest, I've been lucky enough to play at Wembley a couple of times in my career, and I do prefer Wembley, even though Cardiff and Principality, or Millennium Stadium it was then, is my national stadium. I think Wembley is just a little bit more special from a footballer's point of view. But on that day, what I can remember, not a lot from the game really. I think it was a bit of a boring game, if I'm honest.
Yeah, nervy.
It was a bit of a boring one to be involved in. Not much happened until that perfectly fine goal got disallowed. I think it was that Colin Larkin scored it, or did Larks head it back to Lauren, and Lauren knocked it in? I think
it might have been Larks that pulled it back. Yeah, I think he was the one that got flagged for offside. I can't remember.
So apart from that, I don't think there was anything that really happened too exciting. But then obviously I remember the penalties quite vividly. Yeah, so it was the Friday, I think. We trained at Sheffield United's training ground before we went down. I don't know if I've told this story before, but and on that training session, we stayed out. Myself and Liam stayed out to practice some penalties after the session had finished, and we were taking a few penalties as you do, and then Liam said to me, right, one more, and this is how I'm going to take a penalty if we get one down in Cardiff. And he ran up and he done the Podenka, and he dinked it, and it hit the crossbar and went in. And I said to him, you haven't got the minerals to do that. Well, that's the worst thing I could possibly say to him.
So are we now saying that you're to blame?
It could be my fault, yeah. So anyway, obviously what happened. We went down. He's done that, and I bet if he done it another 100 times, he'll score them all. But unfortunately, that one occasion didn't go in, and I don't think it really mattered anyway, because we had missed other penalties, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And Huddersfield didn't really look like missing. But funnily enough, he was a good friend of mine who I've recently been working with. Coaching, Lee Fowler scored the winning penalty and run off with his hand in the air. So, look, it was really disappointing at the time, both from a personal level, but for the team as well, because that team was so close and everyone got on. But where people are let down and don't do very well. Others do well. So take my hat off to Huddersfield, and they've gone from strength to strength after it.
Yeah, they certainly have, and it's been really good to see their journey. And we've been on our own journey as well. And I know that that's also involved you in a second spell as well. We'll talk about that more another time. But I know that Mansfield is a club which you do hold dear to your heart.
Yes, definitely. It's the club, and I've always said this. It's the club that kind of made me a man. On the field and off the field. so being at Man City beforehand, it was very much academy, and I played for the reserves, and I was in around the first team a couple of times, but they were always, the majority of the matches I played didn't really matter. But the minute I come over to Mansfield, you've got fans that really truly care how that team does on a Saturday. And instantly you've got to man up. You've got to step up to the plate and deliver. Because if you don't deliver, then you're letting them fans down. You're letting yourself down. You're letting the club down. It really matters. So Mansfield give me that kind of just to make sure that every game I give my best, and every training session. And yes, it makes you become a proper player, proper professional, and that's what Mansfield done for me. Yeah,
and I know that you've been keeping an eye on results where you can and trying to get to games when you can as well. What have you made of our progress this season?
Unbelievable, to be honest. I thought that it was going to be another disappointing season at the start.
We all did.
But then the run that the team have been on has been absolutely fantastic, and to give themselves the chance of automatic promotion going into the last game of the season, I thought was an outstanding achievement. Obviously, getting to the playoffs is a good achievement from where they were at the start, but I'm sure they'll take that. If somebody said to the Mansfield fans after a month or so of the season that you'll finish off in the playoffs, I'm sure that they would have taken that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's your message to the fans ahead of what is now a huge two games? First of all, at home at Field Mill, or One Call as it's known now, on Saturday to a Northampton side who lost out on the final day on goals scored. Madness.
Yeah, that was a bit crazy, right? With Bristol Rovers doing what they did. That was crazy. But no, to the fans, just get behind the boys. I like to think I always had a really good relationship with the fans, and even though they might not think that their support and cheering on doesn't help, it does. It's a massive thing for those players. So get behind them, make plenty of noise, plenty of encouragement, and fingers crossed they can be that 12th man and get Mansfield over the line.
Yeah, and hopefully to Wembley as well, where if we do get there, hopefully you'll be able to join us and revel in the celebrations, fingers crossed, not getting too far ahead of ourselves, but hopefully you can join us on the big stage.
Yes, let's not jinx it. I've got everything crossed that the team can get there, and if they do, yeah, definitely I'll be making the trip down there, because that'll be a great event and a great achievement from the club. Yeah, it
certainly will. We'll have to get you on our full Stag Stories episodes with an audience later in the year, but for now I'm going to let you go, because I know that you now is it a suit and tie job that you've got now, Rhys?
It certainly is.
Suit and tie.
Football was that anyway. Well, every Saturday we had to get suited up, right?
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what your managers are. Most wear rascal tracksuits now, don't they? And these oversized headphones, but.
Yeah, it's not for me. I used to like dressing up on a Saturday, to be honest. Now take that how you will.
I'm not saying a single thing, but all I'll say is I will not forget that comment, and we'll certainly be doing some more digging, mate.
Yes, and dig we shall. If Rhys thinks he's getting away with saying that at the end and me not following that up, he's very, very much mistaken. More from Rhys Day in the coming months on a full Stag Stories episode. I get the feeling that there's a lot more that Rhys has to say, not just about that specific Northampton game and things like that, but also about the likes of Neil McKenzie, 2 foot in his snake, Liam Lawrence, and all the characters that were in that dressing room. I'm sure there's plenty of story to tell, especially considering the fact he was at the club for such a long time. Great to hear memories, though, of that side, and it just goes to show, doesn't it, that a good changing room with good spirits can really help get you over the line. Fingers crossed that's the same for the Stags in the current day and age. Don't forget our preview show, the playoff preview show, will take place Thursday night, Thursday the 12th of May at 6 p.m. live on all the usual feeds. We'll see you there.